Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield with Manny Things, and welcome to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the show where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you enjoy this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Things. Without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. Today, I'm honored to sit down with Amy Abbott, or better known as Amy556. Amy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Manny. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for accepting my invite and working with a very odd schedule. So I appreciate that. And thanks for coming on. It'll be fun.
Yeah, well, I imagine it's hard for both of us because we have day jobs. None of this supports any of us, I don't think. And we are what seems like a country or two apart. I'm all the way up in Alaska, and I'm not quite sure where you are.
I'm on the east. I'm in Michigan, so I'm on Eastern time. So we're about 4 hours apart. You are not the farthest person away from me or in time zones. I've actually had someone from South Africa on, and that is 6 to 7 hours difference.
Okay, so that's fun for planning.
Yes, it was very like, this has got to happen at this point. And if not, it's nighttime there or it's in the early ass morning. So,
well, so now that I know you're in the Midwest, and I know you're as obsessed, if not more, with shooting as I am, let's do some winter comparisons. And I understand that for the last maybe 5 years, you guys have actually had some rougher weather than we have up here in Alaska. It's been reasonably temperate the last few years. We've got a lot of snowfall, but it seems like you guys get these snowstorms and just crazy weather patterns that we really haven't seen for a while here.
I would agree with that. Typically with Michigan, I get a bunch of lake effect snow. So the cold front hits the lake and it then blows up even worse. So it's not the best, but sometimes we get lucky and it keeps us a little bit warmer than other states in the Midwest. But yeah, we've been getting dumped on, which it's already in the 30s around here as our lows, which I'm not looking forward to. I don't mind the cold, but when it gets really windy and cold, that's where it's like, this is no fun.
Same with us. So I live in what is called the Valley, really close to Anchorage. So we're just surrounded by mountain ranges, which makes the wind pretty crazy here. And the weather patterns are just kind of unpredictable. But I would agree with you. When you have wind, you can't use paper targets. You can't really go out and do a heck of a lot of exercise if it's bad. And I just feel like I can take sub-zero weather all day. And I can take snow. I just hate the wind.
Yes, agreed. And it doesn't matter how many layers you put on, it'll still find a way and get into your bones.
Right. It'll absolutely wreak havoc on any kind of shooting activity you have going on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people still make fun of me. I wear gloves when it's like 40 degrees out. So.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Yeah. If you're shooting outside or doing anything, spending a lot of time outside when it's cold, you have to wear gloves or your hands crack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So anybody making fun of you isn't spending any good amount of time outside in the breeze. I've been wearing gloves probably since October up here. So do you guys do a fair amount of matches there?
Typically our season ends early November. If it's anything past like the second week of November, the holiday, like Thanksgiving, gets in the way. And it just gets too cold and we lose daylight by 5 o'clock. So if your match goes till 2, you're not picked up within an hour. It could be dark by the time you're done.
Right. Yeah. Same thing with us. We actually start matches once a week near Anchorage at 7 p.m., but we have really good stadium lighting at our range. So I really prefer to do outdoor matches. I was just talking to a couple of police officers today. They said, man, we need to build more indoor ranges here. And I said, no, indoor ranges are really bad. Being a firearms instructor for, almost 2 decades now, standing in an indoor range for a week at a time, teaching a class, you leave with all kinds of, say hello to my new kid. This is a new animal, or I would not let her jump up on me like this, but she's my new baby. We'll talk about animals. Indoor ranges just wreak havoc on your lungs and your throat, and I would stand outside in sub-zero temps and shoot all day long over an hour in an indoor range.
Mm-hmm. We have a couple clubs that actually are cool because they have indoor ranges and outdoor ranges on their property. But everyone who's got a membership to one of those, they wear like a half mask respirator in there because the ventilation is horrible. But
Seriously.
Mhm.
Well, it was kind of funny with COVID. We had to wear, some people were wearing masks and we just wore them the first few times because we didn't know what the range rules were.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, this is actually kind of genius in an indoor range. I don't know why I've never worn one.
Yeah, that'd be like, I mean, you keep the soot, the carbon, the lead off of your face, which is a good thing as well. Is pretty good because then it helps reduce your lead levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so how long have you been shooting competitively?
I've been competitively shooting for a little over a year now. I started a year, October of, what year is it? 2020. So October of 2020, I started competing.
Right on. So I've been competing since 2017. Prior to that, I'd had 12 years as a law enforcement instructor. And I, so now I've been, an LE instructor for about 17 years, but I didn't get good at shooting until I started competing. So competitive shooting has really kind of changed everything for me as an instructor. And I'm sure you're already better in the classification scheme than I am. I never actually did get classified. I think I was D class when I first started, not surprising. I went to a classifier match, came out of it without a classification. I thought the deal was you go there and do 6 stages and then, or classifiers, and then you get classified. Didn't get classified. And now my USPSA membership is expired, but I still love going to the matches. So I'm kind of thinking this winter, I got to renew that, try to get classified somehow. But that's a question that always comes up. People are like, what's your classification level? And, as a serious 3-gunner and a not so serious USPSAer, I have to say, not only am I not classified, but I'm not currently in good standing with the organization as far as membership.
Yeah. Which honestly, I say this all the time. It doesn't matter. I would say it doesn't really matter what someone's name or letter next to their name is if they have good information for you and are a reputable source. Like you, for example, are very much more than a competitive shooter. You run 5.56 training lab, you do a bunch of stuff, and you help the community all out more than people of higher classification skills who just don't care to share information.
Yeah, well, I have so much respect for anybody who is a master or a grandmaster and they say, I don't teach, I don't want to teach, that's not what I'm good at. I think sometimes people think that if you're really, really good at something like shooting, that you automatically should, that makes you a good teacher or you owe it to the community to teach. I have nothing but respect for somebody that says, I'm not interested in teaching. For me, teaching is a gift that I realized really early in my career with corrections. And I wanted to become good at shooting because I didn't want to see people struggle anymore. I really wanted to help people. So in order for me to do that, I had to put in a ton of years and I had to practice a lot and work on my personal development.
Absolutely. And which not all, which I like how you said is like, not everyone wants to teach and not everyone is a teacher. Just because someone can do doesn't mean they can teach.
Right.
And sometimes you just wish the people who can do it but don't teach just don't say anything, or the guys who can't do, don't teach. Just don't teach, guys.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, you shouldn't teach beyond your level. And for some people, I don't even know if they should be teaching a beginner level, but they're out there teaching, intermediate and advanced. For me, so the classes that I offer, I love teaching beginners. And a lot of people won't because it's not extremely profitable. It's not profitable because you have a low student to instructor ratio. So you can't pack people 20 shoulder to shoulder at $600 a pop. You can pack maybe 4 beginning pistol shooters in, but any more than 4 or 5, and I always have to pay an assistant coach to come help. But I'm still willing to do it. It's a big bulk of what I do because I want people that are scared of guns to build confidence quickly. So, whenever people ask what I do, on the side besides corrections, I'm a parole officer full time. And I tell them about my business. I say, well, we build shooters. I don't call myself an instructor. Trainer is an okay label To me, instructor is just kind of, it says that you have a certificate, and I don't know if it took you 3 hours to get that or 3 weeks to get that. I don't know what that certificate means or where it's from, but I build shooters. So I take somebody that, might be very timid and scared and doesn't know which end is the business end of a pistol. And by the end of 8 hours, I want them to be able to confidently grip onto that thing and hit a paper plate several times at 7 yards in relatively quick order. So I always tell people when they come to my classes, hey, we're going to start from ground zero. So I start by telling them the 4 parts of a cartridge. I mean, I really start basic, but then we get into the shooting part of it quick. Lecture is just not effective. But by the end of it, most people, I say, all right, here's the test, whatever it is, hit a paper plate at 7 yards or do this stage safely. I say, did I not tell you that by the end of 8 hours, you would be running around, not really, just moving safely from one target to the next with a gun in your hand, reloading, hitting targets. You did it. And I've never had a student fail. I've had 1 or 2 quit just because they brought the wrong equipment. But yeah, I build shooters and I try to do it in the most efficient and patient way possible.
Yeah. And how many classes do you teach outside of your day job? Like in a year?
So yeah, that's a great question. I started this business a month before COVID became a thing. So pretty quickly, it was March of 2020, the ammo just started disappearing off the shelves, but the gun sales were through the roof. So I had people calling off the hook for advice on what pistols to buy, what ARs to buy. So I did pretty good the summer of 2020, and we just kind of had ammo stockpiled, so we'd sell it to students and help. And then 2021 came along, and it felt like the ammo still wasn't hitting the shelves. People had their guns, but they were kind of trying to save the ammo. So this year we didn't do as many classes as last year. I did maybe 4 a month. Last year, I was doing something between 6 and 8 a month, and I keep most of my classes to 1 day. But when you think about, working 5 days a week, 1 day, that is, 50% of your weekend. So, I really try to have that healthy life and work balance. But I did try to dedicate 1 day a week last summer. And then this summer I ended up like maybe 2 to 4 days a month.
Fair enough. Yeah. As you're saying, ammo is gone. Ammo is hopefully starting to come back regularly. I know I reload, so components have kind of started to come back regularly.
Good.
I hope they consistently do that. But we won't really know until it happens, I guess.
Yeah, I buy everything factory, and I've seen tons of 223. So I'm a big 3 gunner. That's really important for me to have lots of 223 around. Lots of shotgun shells back, but I'm still having trouble with 9mm. I can find it, but when I find it, it's like Tull ammo or there's this I can't remember the brand. It's called like Russia, but like just these really low level brands. And I'm not going to say I have some picky guns, but my competition guns like a 124 or 147 grain bullet. Mm-hmm. So and I'm just ended up with garbage 115 options. So I'm grateful to see it back on the shelves. I can't wait until we kind of have the selection that we had in 2019.
Yeah, I hope those days come back. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, what are you running for 3 gun? Like, what's your do you have burner ammo and actually good long range ammo, or are you using all the same things for both?
I'm really an ammo snob. I figure out, I always tell people, especially with ARs, find the 55 grain or, sort of the middle shelf ammo that your gun likes. Mm-hmm. So for every gun, that's going to be different. I have run mostly LWRC in competitions, and just recently I switched to a ZEV. But both my LWRCs and my ZEV, they love PMC bronze. And so, it's not super expensive ammo. Is it super accurate when I could get some Hornady red tips or, some 77 grain bullets? Yeah, it's awesome. But typically I just will run PMC. For shotgun, I'm super picky. It has to be Winchester AA's, the reds. There's some like Remington game loads and stuff like that that's pretty cheap, but It's got to be the Winchester AA's. They're a little bit more expensive. And then for pistol, like I said, if I don't care what it is, but as long as it's 124 or 147, it's pretty reliable. Some of the 115s, I can notice it as a smaller frame shooter. The gun definitely recoils just a little bit more. Those heavier ones are definitely noticeably softer shooting for me in 9mm. But I usually don't go terribly expensive on that stuff either. I'll buy Winchester if I can find 124s or Federal, something like that. But we can't have it shipped to Alaska. So that's the other thing everybody has to understand is I have to buy what's in the box stores. So you can only have ammo transported to Alaska on a ferry. So unless you know somebody that, has goods brought in on a ferry, or you want to go in with somebody to have it shipped, you are at the mercy of the box stores if you're not reloading up here. And I'm not reloading.
That I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Alaska. That sucks. Well, I mean, everything's more expensive in Alaska, probably because of having to deal with bull crap like that.
Oh yeah. Everything's a trade-off though, right? Like I lived out of state for 4 years while I was going to school, and I lived in a great state, a really free state. I lived down in Arizona, and I loved it at first. I loved the weather. I loved that you could drive anywhere in 4 hours. You could be in Vegas, you could be in California. But what really started to wear on me at the end of that 4 years is that every time I wanted to go camping or hiking, you either had to have a permit to go camping or the campground was all filled up. When I went hiking, there was just water bottles littered all over the trails and everything was just so crowded. And I thought, for everything that we deal with in Alaska, the high prices, the difficulty in traveling in and out, so a lack of freedom, we gain so much freedom in movement, in land that we're able to just go use without having to get a permit or ask anybody. And, I'll never leave Alaska for that reason. And every time, something comes up like the ammo issue we just talked about, or cold, or, how expensive things are, I always think the trade-off is near absolute freedom up here. And especially with the gun rights stuff, as I've gotten more into the gun rights, we have open carry. It's just very, very free up here. It's a great place to live.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially you live near Anchorage, so you're not like out in the BFE of nowhere. Truly, I mean, you're somewhat close to civilization.
Oh man, so for work, I cover a huge, huge part of the state. Like, I don't know, a site bigger than Texas is my area of responsibility. And so I have to go do probation and parole visits in villages and really rural places. And I'm telling you, if you forgot to pack a cell phone charger or a toothbrush or something that you really need, you ain't going to find it out there. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that I live where I can drive to Taco Bell if I want to. That's the part of Alaska I'm happy to live in.
The first you get, you don't have to, you can go get your easy commodities.
That's right.
Never met somebody so happy to have Taco Bell.
Oh man, if you go to rural Alaska, not even rural Alaska, there's some great towns that are accessible only by plane. Cordova, Alaska is one of those places that you should visit, but you've got to fly there. And as much fun as I would have there, we'd go look at the glaciers and, we'd go look at the harbor and see cool animals and, do all kinds of fun stuff while I was there. I'd get on that plane and the first thing I would do when I got back to Anchorage is go to the freaking drive-thru. It's just there's something about not having fast food that makes me want it even more. Can't do it.
It's interesting. I like that. Oh. Creature comforts, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, what really made you in the beginning start designing and coming up with all of your drills that you've made?
Well, so it seems kind of played out at this point, but I started Instagram about 4 years ago. And one thing I noticed right away is people had some printout drills from pretty awesome companies that were putting them for free on their websites. But a lot of times people would just go to the range and they'd post about, their group size or, I tested this rifle, I did this or that. But it was pretty apparent to me that people didn't have very good ideas for when they got to the range. I saw just kind of a lot of aimless posts and, the same kind of stuff. Like the big thing when I got on Instagram was the sub-second draw, right?
Mhm.
And people weren't even really specifying a distance. I assumed it was 7 yards, which it probably is a good measurable distance for something like that. But I wanted to just, as an instructor, give not only law enforcement, but civilians sort of a roadmap of what to do when they went to the range. So I just started posting things like really simple things like a fail to stop drill. This is, kind of a standard. And I would get the standards from either police qualifications or watching competitive shooters. And one thing that I noticed right away, because I was new to competitive shooting, I'd been in law enforcement training for a long time, but I noticed the disparity between competition shooting standards, like just how fast the limits were, how high the ceiling was, and law enforcement standards. And understandably, I mean, what have you got to lose going fast and missing in competition versus the absolute need to be accurate law enforcement training?
Mhm.
But I found that really interesting. And so I started making drills kind of based on competitive shooting times and law enforcement times. So like some of the law enforcement times would be, what I would call passing
Mhm.
on my drill. And then like really fast competitive shooter times would be the expert. And then people really liked that. They would get a time and they'd go, wow, I'm not passing or meeting a very basic standard, or damn, compared to everybody else, it looks like I'm an expert in this. So I found that people very much wanted specific directions on what to do. They wanted drill directions, number one. And number two, they wanted some standard to measure themselves against when they went to the range.
Fair enough. And it's fun to see people post up your drills and you see different ones, and you kind of compare yourself nationally against other people and see how you're doing. It's kind of the great thing of like the USPSA classification system. You can
Yeah.
actively compare yourself through metrics, and that's always the cool thing, is looking at these metrics to see where you're standing at, where you can pick up time, what you need to fix. And usually that's what all the drills will do, is give you something to then figure out if you're failing on.
I loved that about when I first got into competitive shooting in USPSA, and I saw that you could get classified and all the national standards. And I thought, wow, this is so great, because I feel like the standards are not standardized across the law enforcement world. I feel like there's really high performance police departments, and then there's really low standard police departments, and that is just going to depend on where you are. But one thing that I realized, I'll never forget the day I stepped out and did Steel Challenge for the first time, and everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, oh, that's so brave. Are you scared? And I'm like, yes, I'm terrified to go stand there and shoot in front of a bunch of strangers. Like, I'm going to look stupid. And one thing I realized after I got into that, and right before I started making these drills, is a huge majority of American firearms owners are never going to sign up for a match. I know that doesn't seem like a very true statement to people in the competitive shooting world or in the social media world, because it's all they see. They're like, there's tons of competitive shooters. I know lots of competitive shooters. But the truth of it is, I don't know for what reason, either paranoia, isolation, geographical limitations, there's a million reasons, lack of membership. There's a million reasons why people will never step into the competitive shooting world. So I really wanted to reach all of the gun owners who just go to their backyard or go to a gravel pit and develop standards that they could go and use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for the most, some people I ask why they don't compete. It's usually because they don't want to get their butt kicked by the gynecologist or your mailman, because everyone's got that high ego complex of, well, I'm a dude. I should be able to shoot really good at guns. And I will say there are a lot of women who can kick a bunch of dudes' ass shooting pistols.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's so humbling. Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because as I train more and more civilians in my local area, their spouses will look at, the videos from class, or they'll look at my videos and they'll say, hey, my husband wants to come, or hey, my wife wants to come to the next class. Like there is something about like, I don't want my wife to be a better shooter than me, or I don't want my husband to be a better shooter than me. Like it's kind of funny if you start to get this idea that everybody's better than you, but you love guns, you're just going to like isolate more and more and only want to go when nobody's watching. And that's fine. I support that 100%. It's just, if you're going to go to the range by yourself, get better. Start recording your times at specific distances and specific drills. Have some measure of where you were at the beginning of the year and where, you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the easiest way is, it's not cheap, but get a time, like go get a timer. Like everyone thinks that it's like, well, I mean, you could use your phone. I tried that in the very beginning, and then it's
it's hard.
Yeah. Well, especially if you want to video, say like you're in dry fire, you want to video your dry fire, but you got to use the timer on your phone.
Yes.
It's just go spend the $100 and some odd $20 and go buy a timer.
I agree. I've been coaching so many law enforcement officers this year, sort of one-on-one coaching for people that are struggling. And that's been, the most rewarding part of getting into competitive shooting is getting into a place where I can be very helpful, very effective, and see very quick results in people that carry a gun as a condition of employment. So that's where I get my greatest joy is one-on-one coaching with LE officers and watching them get better. And a few of them lately, I've actually, we'll be running a qualification. And so I'll run them through the drill, and then I hand them the timer and I said, all right, you're going to run me through. And they're like, whoa, how does the timer work? And I'm like, say, stand by, give it a second, push the button. And then making them run it demystifies the box so much that I can just see it in their face. They're like, oh, it's not a scary thing. It's you pushing a button. And I'm like, yeah, it's just, and then I encourage them all to go buy them. Cause like you said, part of my remote coaching, I coach officers that live like way out in Western Alaska that like I can't meet up with to live fire more than a few times a year. So we'll do video coaching a couple times a week, and I just watch them grow. And I always tell them to get a timer. Like, you have to get a timer because of exactly what you said. You have to film yourself when I'm not there, and you have to catch if you're leaning back or both hands aren't moving together or something that I don't want you paving into your brain. You've got to get a timer. So I'm usually successful in convincing them to buy that in a couple of dummy rounds.
Yeah. And it's good to see people take that step and actually go get the equipment. And yeah. But what was I gonna say? Now I'm lost my thought. I totally lost what I was gonna say now. Damn it.
Oh no. Well, I was going to talk about 3-gun a little bit before we get too far. So that's kind of how I started. Like, I wasn't a big US player. I started in 3-gun. And I love 3-gun because pistol shooting's hard, right? That's where I spend my time and money. I think that's where we spend all of our time and money. But 3-gun is such a beautiful thing because it goes to the very core of, I believe that firearms owners should be able to pick up any basic platform. And by basic platform, I mean an AK or an AR type rifle, right? Shotgun and a pistol. So, those 4 basic things, I believe they should be able to pick that up and hit a target at 10 yards, or at least be able to manipulate the safety and make a shot, because you never know, you could be out hunting with somebody, they fall in the river, you got their freaking rifle and their shotgun. It could be a bear attack and they're just laying on the ground and it's just you, and they were the one carrying the pistol and now they're down. I mean, you never know. Home defense situation. I get kind of crazy in all my scenarios, thinking about when somebody might have to pick up a gun and use it. But that's why I love 3-gun so much, because I feel like I'm never going to be a superstar pistol shooter. I can endeavor to be very, very good, but I'm never going to be, the best pistol shooter in the world. But kind of what I want to be is extremely proficient in all the basic platforms. So like 3-gun, that's my bread and butter, because if you're not having the best day of pistol or your shotgun freaking breaks, you still have a chance, with the other 2 guns to kind of keep up. And just switching platforms like that constantly, it just keeps you really, really sharp, and it's super fun. And it's kind of sucks to watch it. Like, I've talked to people that say, it's dying out. People don't like to use shotguns anymore. It's dying out. But I'm very much, hoping to grow it a little more, at least locally, and hoping that all the 3-gunners reach out and try to grow it locally, because I see USPSA really, really growing nationwide, and 3-guns just kind of, I'm not going to say it's dead, but it's dying.
It was funny you mentioned this, because I did a live this afternoon, and I kind of was talking about that at the beginning. If 3-gun had a national body like USPSA, like 3-gun Nation used to be, 3-gun would be thriving. I mean, USPSA does have a multi-gun rule set, but no one
Sure.
uses USPSA multi-gun rule set because it's not very friendly to three gunners and how for example, the ELS belt, right? You can just take holster, mag pouches off and everything. But in
Sure.
USPSA format, you can't take your pistol that's unloaded in the remain it in the holster and remove it from the ELS.
Oh,
You
sure.
have,
Yeah.
you have to go to the safe table to then remove that holster in USPSA
Right.
format. But
Yeah.
and it seems like three gun is regional. Like there's different, and then depending on the range you're at, there's extra rules or no rules about
Sure.
it. But if we had a governing body of three gun, I think it would come back because it is. I like multi gun formats. I'm trying at one of my local clubs start a two gun series because
Yeah.
everyone likes two gun, and it's
Oh,
sometimes people don't have semi automatic shotguns.
yeah. Well, the shotgun part is so hard. By the way, if you guys ever want to run 3-gun matches, come up here to Alaska to Birchwood. The guys that organize that are just awesome. Like I won't say they definitely are very knowledgeable about the rules of both the USPSA and multi-gun, but they're super brave and they have the coolest. They think of really cool outside the box stages. So if you ever can come up to Alaska and catch them, we only do them once a month near Anchorage, so we only get like maybe 4 or 5 a year. We do a state championship usually in August or September. That is a flipping blast. I'm going to try to get more people up here for it this year because they do such a good job with it. But yeah, I agree. I don't know much about the history or multi-gun nation. I got into 3-gun after all of that, but nothing is more fun. I agree that the shotgun is a real limitation. So, people trying to get into it. I think one thing, I think the main thing is people don't like shotguns. Shotguns are big, dumb guns that do big, dumb things and they hurt. If you don't know, to use the right load. So like I use low recoil slugs and people are like, we had a whole slug stage last year at state. People are like, oh man, didn't that beat you up? And I'm like, no, dude, they're low recoil slugs. They're 1 ounce. They're nothing here. It's like shooting a 22 try. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't even know that was an option. Or, as far as shells go, like I'll use an 1180 or 1200. Guys are out there using 1300s or Prairie Storms or whatever, but not me, once you find a good shotgun and then you find ammo that you can handle, it's a flipping blast.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I'm working on building my 3-gun shotgun. Right now I have a Mossberg 930. It's got a cantilever barrel on it. So as soon as I swap the barrel and I can put an extension on the tube, I'll be okay. But that's the only limiter right now.
Briley Manufacturing, Briley. If you haven't looked yet, that's where I got the tube for my Breda, which took the same tube as a Benelli. And then I just recently got that in Tactical 1301. Oh, the shotgun of my dreams. But right now it only holds 5. So I don't really want to put a tube on it though. It's like a tactical shotgun. It's like my tactical shotgun dream. I kind of want to keep it for home defense, but I kind of also want to take it and show it off at 3-gun. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and no one wants to have 5 rounds in the shotgun. I mean, that just
no.
It just sounds like that's a lot of quad loading.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah. So yeah, I'm stuck with my 4-foot long Breda shotgun. I look like I'm wielding a damn 2x4. But that thing is an awesome duck hunting gun. I use my 3-gun shotgun for duck hunting. And you have to put a plug in it, so it only holds 2 in the tube and then 1 in the hole. But yeah, it's 3-gun is a blast, man.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping one of our clubs picks up more multi-gun at least because it's so fun. It's so fun to watch.
Oh man, it's the best. The guy that did one of the guys that did so good this year at 3-gun up here, his name's Ben. He used a Remington 870 and he was an open because he put a dot on it, but he was freaking killing us with that pump shotgun. Like people had Vepers and 10 round tubes, and this guy was out there with a pump shotgun straight killing it. So I would just say for anybody listening that's interested in 3-gun, if you've got an 870 or something like that, don't let that limit you. Just get really good at it and come in and beat everybody like Ben did this year.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't do too bad as I had to practice score stock you, so you didn't do too bad on the 3-gun championships. You were in the top. Looking at it, let me see if I can pull it up right now. You're at least in the top 20 for sure.
Or did or something. Like limited's the biggest, and so I think I was like fourth or fifth for limited, but I don't remember exactly. I had the longest stage of the match. I did really poorly. Okay, I'm not making excuses here, but there was this awesome stage that was probably like took 2.5 rifle mags, right? And there was these targets I was calling layer cake targets, and they literally took 5 turtle targets, and they had like maybe an inch of brown, and then it was like white in between brown and they put this thing at 40 yards, right? So it was like, do I get down in the freaking dirt and get these hits? And then the people that really ended up doing really good at that stage, I fucking took, sorry about my language, you can cut that out if you want to leave. Okay. I took some no shoots on that stage, those awesome layer cake targets. And then later people were like, I didn't even try to hit those. I just took the mics. And I was like, oh, that's not a bad deal, because if you miss, what is it, -5? And then if you hit a no shoot, 3-gun penalty, you're toast. I took so many penalties on that stage, but I freaking shredded a few of the shotgun stages. We had this awesome stage. Like I said, the guys up here are just so awesome at designing them. We had this jungle run stage. We had one where you like ran up the side of a gravel pit. Like it was seriously like an 1/8 of a mile run up to like really far rifle targets. So like we were breathing super hard after the hike. I thought it was just kind of realistic and kind of awesome. But yeah, that was multi-guns where I have a chance to shine. USPSA, there ain't nothing shining on that. I might have a stage, I won't call it a stage win. I'll call it like a top 3 or 4 once in a while. And then I'm like, man, I did good in one stage tonight. But I keep going to USPSA because I like to get my ass kicked. I really do love the struggle of it. And I love coming back with all kinds of stuff to work on. And there's something about the struggle of it and just getting beat down that I keep coming back for.
Are you still shooting 40 in USPSA, or are you sticking with 9?
So I actually never did shoot 40. I shoot 40 at work. And I did buy a Smith & Wesson 5-inch 40 because I wanted to go major. But the other thing is I was starting to get more and more into optics, into red dots this year. And once I found out that there was no major, so I didn't even know this. I didn't know that there was no major in carry optics. So I was like, okay, I got this gun that I wanted to put an optic on and then go and shoot major. And so I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just I'll stick with the 9mm. But so I ended up selling that gun and not shooting major. So limited minor, and you know more about USA than I do, but from what I'm told, you're not going to get too far in limited minor if you're just kind of an average shooter. You need to do something a little more off the beaten path, like production. And I just honestly haven't looked into it.
Yeah, unless you're Les Kiss Martoni, who shoots limited minor with a Beretta from Appendix and is a fucking gangster.
Yeah, Les is one of the best shooters I've ever seen. I can't remember back when Instagram used to suggest videos for you. They don't so much do that with the gun stuff now. Les popped up in one of my videos you might like, and he does a lot of indoor range stuff, and I was just blown away. I had no idea he's using a DASA gun to freaking shred like this. Everybody else was using a STI or, some really super fancy striker fired gun. And he just shredded. Like I loved watching him shoot. His reloads were insane. And he's actually the one that got me into Berettas and told me to check out Langdon Tactical. And I ended up getting a Beretta 92. And I took it apart on Christmas Day, the year I had it. And I compare it to like the highest level Star Wars Lego set you could find. There's like 999 pieces and springs on the table. And I was like, what the fuck did I just do? A Glock has 35 parts, including the 4 parts that are on the magazine. What did I do? And so Ernest Langdon has a phenomenal video on how to disassemble and reassemble it. So I was able to put it back together. But yeah, I got to credit Les with getting me into Berettas. And he doesn't take the easy path to being a GM for sure.
And speaking of Instagram, have you seen, now that they've kind of reduced some of the restrictions or the hindrance on our kind of content, has your channel grown? Has it gotten better? Have you been, or is it kind of still like it gets there, but you're getting restricted?
Well, I haven't noticed any restrictions. I always think it's so funny when people post like screenshot, I was restricted, or it said I posted something. Like everyone's such a victim and they have such conspiracy theories. Like for a long time, they were posting, the algorithms are really keeping my page from growing. It's the algorithms. And it's like, have you seen your content? It is not useful. Your content's like, look at your content. Are you helping anybody? Is anybody getting anything out of your page? Or are you just expecting that you should have all these followers because you posted a picture of a Glock next to a donut? That's not useful to anybody. No
Right.
offense to anybody else. I love a good donut Glock picture, but who is that helping?
Right.
So I've never noticed that I've been restricted. I haven't noticed. I mean, I don't know about account growth. I hardly ever notice that anymore because it just really doesn't happen unless some company or some big shooter reposts, and so I to kind of stay steady at a number. I'm really grateful for everybody that I'm connected with, but I'm just saying it's just kind of been steady for a long time. So no real increase there. But I have noticed an increase in shooting videos recommended to me, which makes me happy. I also don't want to go back to the day I started Instagram. How long have you been on Instagram?
About 2-3 years now.
2 or 3 years. Okay. So I think I started 4 or 5 years ago, and I almost got off right away because they were force feeding you all of these just ridiculous, like the same clowns that have 250,000 followers, just posting clown stuff all day. And it was like you'd have to block them just so you weren't getting constantly the same moron that had 300,000 followers. And then they were really forcing a lot of the gun bunny stuff, a lot of the nude pictures, all that stuff. So Instagram was just kind of a place where I was like, man, these, 20 really popular people must control everything and nothing else matters. And so I did like it when they stopped with the gun things, stuff you might like, because I was like, man, now all I have to see in my feed is the people that I want to follow. So that was a relief. So now that it's coming back a little bit, it's kind of nice that I'm getting suggested videos, but I don't ever want it to get back to that force feeding garbage culture that it was started.
Or the fact that you couldn't find anyone's content unless you like knew their username
Oh
because
yeah.
you were getting restricted, or all you see is tits and ass on there, or
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like or like all the cartoons because you liked one story about something retro and you're like, now this is all I see. What is this crap?
So, all right, you're not allowed to think about this, but you have to say right now, what 3 main things do you get in your suggested feed? Go.
Ooh, dogs. What else was TNA, because it's all over the internet, but it's what's the third one? Oh, like Pokemon. For some reason it's Pokemon.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, okay, so I get makeup because I'm obsessed with like beauty pages. Pop culture, I get like all this Gwen Stefani, Britney, pop star stuff. So I must like a fair amount of that. And I get like these crazy like raccoon and cat memes now. So I guess they know because I'm a new cat owner. I've never had a pet in my entire life, which I want to talk about pets real quick. But yeah, they figured out that I have a cat. So those are the 3 things that I get. But now, like once in a while, I'll be scrolling through things you might like, and I'll see a shooting video. So that's kind of cool.
I've seen some gun pictures, like in the, how you go to search for something and then like the shit, the random shit they like, you think you'll like. It's a gun picture.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is nice now. I can see some of this now.
Yeah, it is cool when you actually like, I'll see a freaking hilarious video or meme or, Simpsons or Family Guy or something that kind of like really cheers me up. But that's the thing, when they started doing stories a couple of years ago, people just kind of didn't know what to do with it. But I've really tried to keep it positive. I'm sure you follow a lot of the same gun pages as I do, but there's something about this culture that it's overwhelmingly like negative and dark. And I think as gun owners, we have to be pretty defensive, constantly. We have to post stuff and draw a line in the sand when legislation is being introduced that we don't like, but it gets really sort of nasty and negative. I've had to block several people's stories because all day it's just political posts, angry posts, doom and gloom posts. So I've kind of people might hate the Miss Sunshine bull crap I post sometimes, but I do try to post comedy. I do try to post a little bit of like kind of light life advice, like, hey, I'm working out this number, and I don't like force it down people's throats, but I'm doing this new workout challenge, or I'm reading this book, or, I saw this post that kind of like cheered me up. I want people to look at my story and kind of get a break from all the doom and gloom. I just want to offer a little bit of cheer and brightness into what is otherwise kind of a pessimistic community sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people can be really negative on social media about their own shooting, about someone else's shooting. I would say if you're really negative about things, go read this book With Winning in Mind. It's a performance, book about the mental state and the mental system, but it really makes you think on the other side of the coin.
Is the golf dude?
No. No. Laney Basham wrote this book, and he is an Olympic rifle shooter.
Oh, he's a rifle shooter. Yeah.
His son Troy, I think, is the golfer.
Okay. I picked that book up With Winning in Mind about 4 years ago when I got a couple chapters into it. And for whatever reason, it just didn't really, I think what didn't resonate with me is A, I'm not a winner. So I was just, I didn't really relate to it. But B, it was a lot of to win, you have to be positive, or to win, you have to visualize yourself as a winner. And I was just kind of at a place back then where I'm like, that doesn't help me with recoil control. That doesn't help me with feeling so defeated when I leave a match. It doesn't. What helped me more is, pretty recently, at the recommendation of Rob Epifania, I started reading about David Goggins and some of these really high performance athletes that the message is like, there's no secret. You just have to work your ass off. Mm-hmm. And that's helped me a lot more. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes more sense to me than visualize yourself as a winner.
Mm-hmm. And it all depends on your mindset too.
Yeah. I mean, you what are you working for if you don't have a vision of winning or succeeding in some way, Right. Yeah, but to me, the ones that are put your nose to the grindstone and work, that just makes a little bit more sense to me.
Mm-hmm. And I know you wanted to talk about pets, so go right ahead.
Oh yeah. So I love your posts about your dogs. I think they're so cute. And I would never have related to that until I just got this kitten like a couple months ago. And I'm not a cat or a dog person because my allergies are crazy. But for whatever reason, this little cat was born in a barn and needed a home. And I was like, fine, she could just live in the garage. I'm not allergic to this thing. It's like a miracle. It's like the Star of Bethlehem Christmas miracle. I'm not allergic to this damn cat. And so now I love her so much that when I see your posts, I'm just like, oh my gosh, pets are life. They are the world when you have them.
They are, and they just know how to make your day better too. It's like you could be having the crappiest day and you get home and they're sitting there looking at you like, first you have to feed me and pet me, but I love you.
Yeah, I know. It's the craziest thing. Well, the cat. So do you have any cats or just dogs?
I am allergic to cats. So I just have the 2 dogs.
Me too. Yeah. Craziest thing. So, so I've had, as a kid, we had dogs, but the craziest thing about cats is no noise. Like when she meows, it's so cute. We're like, oh, it's so cute. It's like once a month she makes a noise. So dogs, I would imagine, are a little louder than that. And then she's like, she wants to know what we're eating, but she doesn't want to eat our food, which is an awesome difference from a dog. Oh, and she potty trained in 4 hours. So cats, those yeah, but she can't protect us really, or very much alert us when somebody's coming. So those are drawbacks. And she's just not quite as she's way more independent than a dog. I would imagine the dog would just want to follow you everywhere.
They do. And yeah, my dogs don't protect me for crap but they'll tell me someone's here. You move wrong on the floor. They're barking up a storm because who's here? I'm like, I just moved.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, no, one of the scariest, okay, let's go dark here for just a second, way off the topic. We had a serial killer here in Alaska named Israel Keys. And he got caught for killing a young girl locally. And when he was in custody, it turned out that he was flying all over the United States and killing in separate instances, which was really quite brilliant because he wasn't just sticking to one location. So he was going in and out of these towns, killing and leaving. And one of the stories is just chilling. So you guys have to look this up on Wikipedia, but he flew over to, I think it was Connecticut, which is other side of the country from Alaska. He decided, I want to kill. So I'm going to find a house. It has to be ranch style, 1 story. It can't have any dogs was one of his criteria. And it can't have any kids. I'll kill anybody else. I'll stalk this house for a couple of days. And so what he did is these people went to sleep. It was a couple, that were, I want to say they were like maybe in their 50s sleeping, and he snuck into their house so quietly and he wanted to attack them. I can't remember what the term he used, but he wanted them to be shocked. He wanted to be standing at the foot of their bed with a gun when they woke up, and he was successful. So they woke up to this guy standing over him, and, he tied him up, kidnapped him, took him to another location and murdered him. And it was just so chilling reading that story, because I was like, that's so creepy. Like, if they would have even had a dog, because what can any of us do? Like, we're all so good with these skills that we have, like nobody better break in here. They don't stand a chance. But when someone gets the drop on you, when you got 0 chance to respond, what can you do? So I think that dogs are so valuable in that respect, like alerting you, that's everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And they just make cute companions 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Amy, we're getting near our time, but is there anyone that you want to shout out or give thanks to for supporting you throughout this, in your journey through firearms instruction?
Oh, so many people, people with pages that you could actually find on social media and Instagram would be Rob Epifania, Epifania. Does that sound right?
So it's pretty close.
Epi, like EpiPen, and then Fania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go find Rob. Velox Training Group, Nick over there, VELOX. He's helped me quite a bit along the way. There's just been so many mentors over the years that have come and go, and then there's tons of companies. But more than anything, it's just been really helpful for people to reach out and say when something doesn't look right, like, that was a really shitty reload, that was really slow, your sport hand's getting lazy, you need to work on your movement. I've got a weightlifting coach now, Kelly Rongo, KELLIERONGO, and she does a lot of the police training and workouts for effective fitness. So it's a police posts page, but basically she has helped me for the last year remotely get some muscle. So I don't shuffle around the stages like an old man anymore. I actually have some explosive movement and I run. So yeah, Kelly's been a big help. But I just appreciated being part of this community and meeting people like you that, I would have never known you if it wasn't for social media. So I say we all, do our best to pull in 5 to 10 people a year into the shooting community locally, and just keep supporting each other in any way we can, because it's an awesome community, and the shooting sports need to grow for sure. Gun ownership needs to grow, and competent gun handlers and shooters. We can never have too many of those. Never have too many good guys that know what they're doing with the gun in their hands. So I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for giving me a platform here. And I'll be sure to share it whenever you publish it.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with that statement. I mean, we always need to bolster our community, bolster our rights, and bolster our efficiency with a firearm. And no, thank you, Amy. Thank you for coming on and letting me talk with you for a little bit this evening. And honestly, it was a blast. And we'll find this wherever they can. But guys, remember, get out and do the things, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.